Coming live from Tipton, Indiana, USA is our guest this evening. Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Master Class Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Chris Anderson, founder and CEO of Elevate Media Group, a full-service podcast production agency for 6-7-figure business owners. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Hey, AJ, thanks so much for having me on.
You are welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure a lot of people, not just in India, but across the globe, will benefit from what we are going to talk about elevating your brand with video podcasting. My first question to you, Chris, is to understand, nowadays we are getting to hear a lot of voices about podcasting. Some people, even a former president, king, a prince, and a lot of these things have made news, celebrities. And now suddenly there is this talk that podcasting is in problem because of layoffs and all those things happening. As a podcast production agency owner, CEO, how do you listen to them? How do you adjust those things into your mind? And how do you plan your business amidst all those different voices coming to you at different points in time, but a lot more very, very recently?
Yeah. So, that's kind of how I got started with Elevate was, just diving in and starting my own podcast because I wanted to learn from other successful entrepreneurs, other business owners. And that's what led me to starting my podcast back in 2019. And then I started to see the benefit and the potential that was there with podcasting. And, early on, since the beginning of my show, I've done video podcasting and so it's grown and it's changed and it's, branding changed, name change, things along the way until we've landed at Elevate Media Podcast, the Elevate Media Group as a business. But I listen to podcasts, different times, whether it be during a workout or a run, or maybe when I'm driving, if I have to do more driving during the day, sometimes just randomly, if I find a good one that pops up. I have the opportunity and the blessing to be able to work from home and spend time with my 2 young sons. And so sometimes while they're playing or while they're doing their thing, I can turn on a podcast that's beneficial for them too. Just even though they're young, maybe not understanding everything, they can still take in the positive messages that they hear from it. So I incorporate it, through my daily life. And like I said, podcast is what led me to building this agency that now allows us Elevate to be a part of other people's, other brands, other individuals' journeys, and helping them share their story, helping to get their messages out to more people so they can build a life they love and so that they can make a bigger impact in the world as well. And, we saw a big boom with podcasting when COVID hit. People, were laid off or they were working from home. They had more time because they didn't have to drive. They didn't have to commute and they could get their job done and utilize extra hours during the day. And so a lot of people, took that chance and took that step into podcasting, some as hobbies, some hoping to build something on the side that turned full time, like what I've done. And so we saw that big boom, when COVID and the pandemic hit. And now we've seen a lot of people kind of getting back into the 9-to-5 job. And so those numbers have gone down. Those active shows have decreased. But the ones who stuck with it and who have continued to grow have seen success and be able to build some cool things. And it's still open. The video podcast world is still there for the taking if you want to really, get out there and build a brand, take your, side hustle to full-time thing. So.
Right. Why I mentioned was and started with this was that, a lot of when podcasting was picking up, video podcasting especially, a lot of people entered and people thought that a lot of money is going to come. A lot of celebrities also entered, and a lot of people have just moved out. And whether you can call bad business decision by top podcast companies or whatever it is, but the fact is that different voices can confuse people. And that is where I come to the business owners also, 6 to 7 figures. How do you convince them about, about podcasting, which was earlier on audio, and now you are talking about video podcast. This is a video podcast. It will also go on audio.
Yep.
It will also go on blog. But in terms of the selling point, the USP, what is the USP amidst these different messages that a business owner might get? What do you tell them? Is it about creating their own podcast, or is it about being a podcast guest and milk all the podcast marketing, video podcast marketing that is available for their business? How does it work? Help us understand the mind of these business owners, as well as, how do you navigate this part of the business day in and day out as the CEO, founder, and CEO of Elevate Media Group?
Yeah. So as regards to, business owners implementing video podcasts, either of their own or being on other shows, it's really kind of in tandem, because it depends on where they are on their journey. But most 6 to 7 figure business owners have a decent audience that they've built over time through social media, through ads, through whatever it might be, word of mouth. And so now, especially where we are in the day and age of social media, and video content online with your Instagram reels, your YouTube shorts, things of that nature, TikToks, it's part of just staying with the times and being innovative and staying with those innovations of what's going on with marketing, what's working. And that's where people want to see video now in the marketing, and more ads are, people are blocking more and more ads. They don't necessarily want to see ads. This is why people do Netflix. That's why they do streaming services. They don't want to see those ads. And so to be able to get your word, your message, what you do out there in a non-ad kind of, sponsored post saying directly trying to sell something, video content is huge. And that's why for brands and businesses, you need to be making video content. Someone's got to be the face of the brand. And so most of these coaches, these 6 to 7 figure coaches, they are the face. And so it's the best way that they can share their expertise, that they can educate, entertain, motivate the people they're trying to help in video form, is having their own show, because you can record one episode. And like you said, AJ, take that audio and put it on the podcast directory through your host site, but then take the video, put it on YouTube, and then break that video down into multiple pieces of video content to share on social media. And then on top of that, if you're still wanting to do more, you can create blog posts from that episode. You can create static quote or carousels or text posts that come from that episode. So you can get so much content from one recording. It's a no-brainer, because you've got to be able to put out content to be seen on these platforms, especially if you're not paying to play. So having a way to do that through your own video podcast is crucial. And then being a guest is the same thing. Collaborating with other hosts, getting on there to share your expertise to their audience, an audience that they've already created, and you're just kind of piggybacking on to provide value to. And then, taking or not taking away, but allowing their audience to have someone else that they can listen to who's an expert in a different area that they might be interested in. And so you can start growing that way organically by just, reaching out and say, hey, I want to add value on your show. I can talk about these things. It could be a value to your audience, and just building those out. So you want to be able to do both. And of course, you can always ask, and this is what I've done, is ask the host, hey, do you mind sending me the raw video? I'd love to break that down, create some content from it to share on my social media. And I'd love to tag you and add you as a collaborator, so people know where it's coming from and give you the credit. And you can work that way with these hosts to expand your content strategy, to expand your reach, and to grow, your audience bigger and bigger. And so that's why, so many established brands and businesses need to really consider doing a podcast. And, that's where Elevate steps in, because it's a lot of time and it's a lot of work to record an episode and then break it all down and edit it all and make it look really nice and professional and get those pieces back in a timely manner. When you have something, more pressing as a CEO, taking care of your team, taking care of your clients, focusing on where your zone of genius lies, So, Elevate filled a need of, let's get these CEOs, let's get these successful entrepreneurs their time back, 10 hours a week from an episode, where we do the work, they just record, and we do everything else, allowing them to focus, on their strengths, but be able to still have that content created to push out there.
Right, right, Chris. I want to understand, when what are the challenges or the opportunities that you uh, talk about, and challenges in terms of their understanding this business owners at the present situation. What do they generally want to understand from you about video podcasting, or is it that they know fully about it? But one of the challenges I can see is that 2 years back we were all talking about audio,
Mm-hmm.
that it is very intimate medium, you don't need to spend any time, just you can do five things at the same time and still people will be able to listen. And
Yep.
now in the last 1 year specifically, it's much more of video.
Yeah.
YouTube was in fully video, then they have got into this podcasting. Spotify was in more in audio, then they have got video. So there is a whole overlap happening, good for bad, I don't know, but the industry is changing. In terms of the businesses, how do they look at it? What are the challenges that you face? Or is it all about opportunity? You just go in, you talk to them, and they say, Chris, we know about video podcasting. Good, you came back. Let's start tomorrow. How does this work? What is their mindset? I want to understand their understanding. These are people who have achieved some level in their lives, and their understanding of this medium is very important for the podcasting industry as well as the trend that is happening at the moment.
For sure. Yeah. So most, if not all of these CEOs, these brand owners, these business owners, they see the value and the power of video content. That's what they've been doing, whether it be organically on their phone. They've just been recording videos to get out there. It's just, you've got to follow the trends on these social media platforms, and that's video. And I don't see that going away anytime soon, because it's the best way that we can do online to build connection, to build trust. And that's seeing a person and hearing them at the same time versus just hearing them with a static image in front of it. And so, old marketing, old advertising is going away. And it's just, how can we build these connections, especially with AI coming up and avatars and things like that? People are then even more, they're going to want to have that connection with a real person somehow. And online, the best way obviously to do that is by organic video creation. And so a lot of these owners, they see the benefit, but they have to understand, what is the ROI of investing into this tool, this platform, this funnel in our system? Is it worth it at the end of the day? And we have to make sure people understand, like, you've built an audience, but now you've got to push this out there. And this won't necessarily be a moneymaker directly right away. It can make money directly, but right away, you're just giving more content. Gary Vee, the jab, 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 hook kind of thing, just giving away your best thing. Alex Hormozy, building something that's great and amazing and just giving it for free. To, again, build that connection, help your audience in a way that then they're asking for, okay, this is amazing. The content you're putting out here is amazing on this video podcast. I want more. And that's where then you can show them what you have to sell. But they have to understand that right away, you'll indirectly make money from the podcast, unless you're this big celebrity who's already created this huge, ecosystem around their name. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, if he had, his podcast, he could, have sponsors banging at his door to pay. Joe Rogan, things like that. But they put in the effort ahead of time in the past. And so that's one of the big ones is this investment worth it? And so we have to show them, here's what your product costs. Even if you have one or two coming and becoming clients through your podcast each month, then what we do for you is worth it. And there's an ROI there. Plus you're saving all those hours that you would have to be doing this yourself, or you'd have to try to be finding these freelancers or individuals who might be hit or miss on returning things on time, slow to respond to correspondence, things of those natures. So we're saving you headaches, we're saving your time, and we're putting you in your position to make more money. And so once they understand the value of it, and how it impacts and correlates to their business model already, they usually hop on board. So it's just kind of overcoming that, because as a business owner, you have to balance different things. You don't want to chase all the shiny objects. So you have to make calculated risks sometimes, and in investments with your money is one of them. And so that's kind of what we have to overcome.
Absolutely, Chris. Let's start understand it from not only from the 7 to 8 figure business owners, but also from other people who are perhaps small businesses. Like, to understand from you how you yourself are a podcast host of the Elevate Your Brand podcast. So, how did you use your podcast to actually grow your business? And through your answer, a lot of other people will also get their answers.
Yeah, absolutely. So the funny thing is, we actually had to change the name from Elevate Your Brand to the Elevate Media Podcast, due to some copyright things. And that's something I learned along the way. We're always learning lessons, right? And so if you're out there wanting to start a podcast, make sure you do some research on your name a little bit more than I did, to make sure things like that won't happen. It wasn't a big issue. We just, rebranded a little bit and continued on our way. But I just like to throw that caveat when we have to mention that, just because we're always learning. Even no matter what part of the journey you're on, you're always learning something. But yeah, so how did I use a podcast, to grow, to monetize? Initially, it's because when I started this journey, I quit my job in 2020, right when the pandemic hit. I had nothing. I had no experience. I had no education. I had no background in business, entrepreneurship, anything like that. I just wanted something different from life. I wanted to be able to dictate my own time, and I wanted to be able to have no ceiling on the money I made, because I just got tired of the corporate world. And so I really had to figure things out. And I'd already started my podcast previously in 2019. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep learning from these individuals that I have on my show. I'm going to learn what works, what doesn't, what to watch out for. And as I did that, then I started to realize, okay, what if I interviewed people who I could learn from, my audience could learn from, but I could provide a service to them as well. And so having a podcast opens the door a lot easier to, those types of individuals who you could do business with, because they love to talk about themselves and their things. Everyone does. And so that's an easier ask than, hey, I have this thing, you want to check it out? So it kind of starts that relationship a lot easier. And so that's where I started. And then as the podcast had success, I had people reaching out. Hey, Chris, how'd you do that? How'd you get into the top 2% globally listened to? How did you get charted? All these things. And I leaned into it. So on top of the production, we help brands who don't have podcasts launch them successfully to get in the top percent globally listened to. And so we just listened to the market, what they wanted. And as we kept growing, we just took away, that pain in these business owners' lives. And that was editing. That was creating video content, because it's time consuming. And finding a good freelancer can be frustrating, and a lot of time as well, especially if you're hit or miss with them. And so it's just grown that way, from connecting with guests on the show and then having happy customers refer clients to us. And so we've walked that journey. We've just continued to consistently grow and implement. And now, just from a CEO kind of hat being put on, and we've had so many people pitch to be on our show, asked to be guests through these marketing firms. It's something I learned from Travis Chappelle, who's got Guestio. He's interviewed a bunch of big name individuals. And he said, why not charge to have people on your show? And it was something that I was adamantly against for the longest time. I didn't want to charge guests to be on the show. And then I started thinking about it after he said that. And he said, you've built this show, you've built this business, blood, sweat, and tears. You put the effort into it to build something that has an audience, and that people obviously now see the benefit of going on and sharing their thing. At the end of the day, they're sharing what they do or what they have to offer. So why not ask just a small portion that if someone took them up on their offer, it would pay for that spot on your episode. And it really made sense. And so, we started to now, if we get reached out to by people to be on the show, we're more than happy if they're a fit to have them on. And we just, charge a small fee for that, just for, the business we built and their marketing basically that they're getting in our audience. Now, of course, if we reach out to someone, we're not going to say, okay, now pay us. If we reach out to you, we do it and it's free, because it's just, that's how we wanted to differentiate that. And so there are more than one ways to monetize your show. And so we're just seeing those avenues, and we're consulting individuals on how to grow and, improve their studio setup, how to improve their video, their audio, as well as just how to grow their audience.
Absolutely, absolutely, Chris. You have been very frank, transparent, and quite a lot of people will understand. And as for the Guestio thing, I read about him, and there was a Bloomberg piece which said that as much as a podcast were charging as much as $50,000 for one particular show. I don't know if you have read that, but that is where even the Guestio's head interview was there, and I have my own thoughts on this, and I agree with it to a great extent, because but it has to be done in a nice manner, because I come from a journalism background, and my way of looking at content is a bit different, but I agree with that. So that is where I want to understand, when you people reached out to potential guests, that there can be a lot of value for them. What was their reaction? Because this
Yeah.
industry is facing the big problem of monetization. Why? A lot of guests are using it as a commercial activity in terms of elevating their brand, building their brand, but every moment of your production cost is involved as a podcast host. The same guys who are building their own companies are not helping podcast hosts in any way. The book writers who are running to promote their companies or books on your show
Yep.
are spending money outside but will not give you. They will wait for God to come and help you with some monetization.
Yeah.
How did it work out? How do you see? Because this is where the lot of big make and break of the podcasting industry, whether video or audio, is going to happen. A lot of people want to just use your brand, but don't want to be a partner in your growth. They only want your growth. And the same for podcast agencies. A lot of people have their own guests to push, but they don't want, as the person in the Guestio said, that they are not going to pay you anything because of
Right.
your, not because of your content, but because of the amount of effort that is required to produce one podcast episode. How do you how will people understand it? As an agency owner, I want to get your point of view, since you mentioned about it, this whole gamut of things, because it's going to impact especially podcast agency, podcasting, people like us who are coming from the journalism background. We may reduce it, but we are utilizing our skills, we are bringing in value, maybe not as a business, but we will continue to do it. But I don't, that is why I rarely accept guests from podcast agencies. Why? Because the guest is not going to recognize you, and the podcast agency is not going to do anything for you. That, listen, man, you are hosting great shows, you are doing great, getting great guests, and that is, I will bring you one sponsorship. They're never going to talk. None of these guys want it. So why should I get guests? I will get a guest from the street, a small business owner who nobody knows. If I talk, at least he's thankful. He's more than eager. He's strong participant in the podcast that you are going to produce. Very eager. You want those eager people, Chris. You don't want people who are prima donnas. That's what
Yep.
my whole take is, and that is where I want to understand you well. In this.
Yeah, and that's kind of how we're looking at it too. And when I approach this with the idea, with the team, with the idea is, these firms, these podcast guesting firms, are they're looking and they're seeing our show, and so we're having a lot of them. And so if we can, how can we kind of filter now to more serious individuals who see the benefit and understand that? And that's where, again, the monetization came in, because now it's like, if they're serious about it, they see the value plus the value they're getting. Like our team creates content that they can share onto their social media as well. So like, it's not just getting pushed up there. Like we're creating the micro reels that they can take. We give them that. We give them the video file so they can, have it. So the value is there. Excuse me. And so that's how we saw it. We said, we're doing this, we're doing work for them. So, it just kind of covers a little bit of the cost, not even all of it, but it's enough to make things seem right. Yeah. And so the benefit they're getting is greater than what they're paying. And that's kind of what we wanted it to be at, especially, again, filtering so many, emails each day about, hey, this could be a great guest. And we've had a lot of really great guests come from these podcast marketing agencies. And so we've built some good relationships with them. And if you're in these marketing, trying to get people on shows, remember like this, like the host puts a lot of work in this and a lot of time if they're not expediting or exporting or, giving the editing to someone else. And even if they are, then they're paying for that. So
Absolutely.
be open to having that price. But if not, I've had individuals from these companies say, well, hey, we don't maybe not have it in the budget to pay a fee for that, but this guest has, this product they'd like to offer you. And if it ties in the episode, I can kind of show it on the episode and try it and things like that. And so we work things out that way, or, they'll send books or whatever it might be. So be open to adding value somehow to this host if you're not willing to pay and ask, because some of them might still be open to those opportunities. It's the same thing when we're going to be starting to do in-person recordings for the show. The first round we're doing for free, just to see how it goes and things like that. But going forward, it's going to be a bigger price tag to be a guest because they're going to get headshots. They're going to get, a sizzle reel of them as a guest. They're going to get things like that. The content's going to look even better because they're going to be on our cameras. They're not going to be on Zoom or anything like that. So the quality will be even better and broken down. And so, it's things like that. Like we provide value to them. It's worth what we ask for as far as an investment to be on the show. And we want you to take it serious. We want you to show up. We don't want you to ghost us. And thankfully through this journey, we haven't had many people not show up because of our, reminder systems and things like that. But again, just making it a bigger reason for them to show up. And there's a lot to it to think about from both sides of the host and the people trying to become a guest.
Absolutely. And this is a big area that needs to be solved because the percentage of pod fade is quite high, almost 90%. And people who are building this whole industry, agencies, public relations firms, a business around this may find that this business will not remain there if experienced people or good podcasts or hosts also find that it is not viable for them at all. Forget about the lucrative part, but even from the viability part, if it is not working. So I guess it is time that people think positively about it and find a solution. But be that whatever, it may help us understand more about Elevate Media Group and also about your podcast. You have already spoken about that, but in this last bit of understanding of your company, about your podcast, so that people can connect with you, know more about you, and engage with you professionally for the good services that you provide for them, especially video podcasting. And podcasting is such a fantastic marketing tool, the tool of the coming future, now and the future that is yet to come.
Yeah, so you just want me to talk about Elevate?
Yeah. You talk about Elevate. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. Excuse me. Yeah. So, Elevate Media Podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, or you can go to YouTube, add official Elevate Media. If you want to watch the videos, you can see those episodes there. But yeah, you can tune in. We every Monday we release an episode with a guest talking about different topics that are going to help you elevate your life and your brands. And then, there's 2 solo episodes come out Wednesday and Friday. That's me either speaking on something I've learned, how to do video podcasting better, how to grow your business better, or just some motivation, something that just kind of sparked my thoughts recently, and I share those with you. So check that out wherever. Leave a review and rating. Let me know what would you like if we can do things better? But yeah, it's for you guys who are trying to build something, build a side hustle into a full-time thing, build your agency. And so it's there for you for free. We don't do subscription for the podcast. You get all the episodes there. So, and then, yeah, Elevate Media, if you don't have a show, we'll get you one. We launch it for you. So we do all the back end heavy lifting while you prepare for the launch. We'll get you out there. And, our goal is to get you in the top 5% globally listened to. We've done it with multiple clients. Majority of our clients, some are getting close to that 1% mark globally listened to. So we can do that for you if you don't have a show. If you have a show and you're tired of editing and you're tired of making content from them, we can do that for you. Give your time back, give you that energy back that it drains from you as you're editing. And we can help you take you to the next level through providing high professional quality content that way. So, but other than that, if you're just looking for questions or get questions answered, want to connect with me, maybe you want me on your show, maybe you're curious about being on my show, you can reach out to me on Instagram is a good place, at chris.t.anderson. I still personally answer my DMs, so I'm there for you to help however I can. I love doing that because I just want to make a difference. I want you to get your story out there, share it with the world, make a difference, and grow something amazing that can, create the life you truly want to have. And then, of course, LinkedIn, if you're there as well, you can connect. But yeah, go leave a subscription or go subscribe to the YouTube channel at Official Elevate Media or follow the podcast wherever you listen to. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thanks, AJ.